गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you for this morning class wherein we discuss from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we are going to discuss on from the third canto, 29th chapter, verse number 32. So can you confirm if you are able to see? Yeah, I think now you can see. अर्थ ज्ञात संशयात चेता तथा श्रेयान् स्वकर्मकृत् मुक्त संगस्ततो भूयान् अदोक्ता धर्मम् आत्मनः। अर्थ ज्ञात संशयात चेता तथा श्रेयान् स्वकर्मकृत् मुक्ता संगस्ततो भूयान् अदोक्ता धर्ममात्मनः। अर्थ ज्ञात संशयात चेता तथा श्रेयान् स्वकर्मकृत् मुक्ता संगस्ततो भूयान् अदोक्ता धर्मम् आत्मनः। What word meaning? Artha Gyat, than one who knows the purpose of the Vedas. Samshaya, doubts. Chitta, one who cuts off. Tataha, than him. Shreyan, better. Swakarma, his prescribed duties. Krit, one who executes. Mukta Sangaha, liberated from material association. Tataha, than him. Bhuyan, better. Adogdha, not executing. Dharmam, devotional service. Atmanaha, for himself. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. And better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Purport. Arthagya Brahmana refers to one who has made a thorough analytical study of the absolute truth and who knows that the absolute truth is realized in three different phases, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. If someone not only has this knowledge but is able to clear all doubts if questioned about the absolute truth, he is considered better. Further, there may be a learned Brahmana Vaishnava who can explain clearly and eradicate all doubts. But if he does not follow the Vaishnava principles, then he is not situated on a higher level. One must be able to clear all doubts and simultaneously be situated in the Brahmanical characteristics. Such a person who knows the purpose of the Vedic injunctions, who can employ the principles laid down in the Vedic literatures, and who teaches his disciples in that way, is called an acharya. The position of an acharya is that he executes devotional service with no desire for elevation to a higher position of life. The highest perfectional Brahmana is the Vaishnava, a Vaishnava who knows the science of the absolute truth but is not able to preach such knowledge to others is considered as being in the lower stage. One who does not only understands the principles of the science of God but can also preach is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach but who also sees everything in the absolute truth, and the absolute truth in everything is in the highest class of Vaishnavas. It is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. In fact, the highest stage of Brahmanical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. So I welcome each one of you for this morning Bhagavatam class, and I seek blessings so that I get the right words to glorify the Lord from Bhagavatam. So I'll just read the translation again. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts, and better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination, and better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. So today we'll discuss four themes in this verse. The first we'll discuss what is the purpose of the Vedas, the Vedic scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we'll talk about the act of preaching, and then we'll talk about one who lives like a Vaishnava, living a life of a devotee. And then finally, we'll talk about the highest stage of devotional service, wherein one expects nothing from the Lord. So, what is this devotional service and what it is not? So, both we'll discuss. So, if you see, I'm sure, so this verse specifically talks about different levels of a devotee. So, I'm sure every one of us would have played games during our childhood time, computer games. So, we see that there will be a character where we try to level up and then go ahead in that game. But now, so that may be a character in the game, but now it is about our own life. So, how do we live a life? What is the goal of life? So, many people have this experience that sometimes when they are lying down on the grass watching the night sky, they see so many stars glittering. It is so beautiful. This makes them wonder, why do they even exist?
Is there a purpose behind all? What is it all about? Why do even we exist? Or why is there something rather than nothing? So how do we get answer to all these questions? So actually, this is where Vedas help us. The Vedic scriptures are like a manual. So just as when we buy any product in the market, suppose we buy a washing machine, it comes with a manual which teaches us how do we use it, what it is made for. So like that, Vedas are also like a manual which try to answer all these questions that we have. What is the goal of life? Why do we live? So if you see the Bhagavad Gita, mm, so the context of Bhagavad Gita is it is spoken on the battlefield when the war has already begun. But then Arjuna suddenly gets confused why he should fight. And and if we analyze how Krishna responds, surprisingly, Bhagavad Gita doesn't talk about any tactics or any strategies. How do we fight? Because that is not the question which Arjuna had. He was already very skilled. Rather, his question was why? Why to fight? What will he get from it? Now, Krishna could have answered very easily by reminding him of all those instances, wherein they were disrespected. Like for example, mm, uh, it was made an attempt to burn their house on fire. They were thrown in the place where there are so many snakes. They were fed poison, and even their wife Draupadi was being disrespected. So all these situations, if reminded, it is sufficient to boil their blood and to fight back. But actually, Krishna doesn't use this trick. Rather, he talks about how do we live a life in this world, how to perform our duties. So, what is the goal? That's what Krishna talks about. And actually, what do we understand from the Vedic scriptures or from the Bhagavad Gita? So, Krishna says in Gita, Vedas cha sarve aham eva vedya. From all the Vedas, I am to be known. Actually, if we try to observe the world, everyone is trying to be happy. It is said, Anandamayo Bhyasat. So we see people are working hard day and night. They're doing their business. Students are studying. People are preparing for interviews. They're maintaining their family. They're working hard. They have so many dreams. So why are they doing whatever they are doing? Because they just want to be happy. But if you actually find, when we actually see that so many people already have, they have a house, they have a big car, they even have a lot of money, but somehow they don't have happiness or they don't have peace of mind. Like yesterday, everyone was saying, Happy Diwali, Happy Diwali. So, how do you get this happiness? Prabhupada used to say that people have now constructed skyscraper buildings, such a huge achievement. But from the same buildings, people also commit suicide. So, it is very clear without a doubt that everyone wants happiness. But how do we get it? So, actually, if we if we understand from the Gita, Krishna teaches us that we are not this body but we are the soul. So if you would have seen our childhood photo, how were we looking? And now when we see ourselves in mirror, how do we look? So it has totally changed, and the body keeps changing. But although the body has changed, I am still the same person, you know was there in the photo, who I am now. I am still the same. But if you see, the body is changing. So that's what Gita teaches us. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्ते धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. So when we try to work to give satisfaction for the soul, because we are working hard whole day just to take care of our body, we are giving food and we are doing so many other things. But unfortunately, the situation is like a fish out of water. If you take a fish out of water and give him all facilities, if you give him pizza, burger, games, mobile, TV, everything, all entertainment, but the fish cannot be happy unless it is put back in water. So similarly, Prabhupada used to say, because Krishna is missing, no matter what we get in life, we will never be happy and satisfied. So therefore, we must try to understand Krishna. So Vedas to sarver ahameva vedyo. That is what Vedas teaches us. So that we can try to understand Krishna and love him. But how to understand Krishna? That is also said in Gita. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by bhakti we can actually understand Krishna. And what will happen if you understand Krishna? So Krishna says,
जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देह पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति स्वर्जुना.
so if someone can actually understand, why Krishna appears in this world, why he does certain activities, how they are all transcendental, we actually become qualified to go back to the spiritual world. That means this is not a small thing to understand Krishna. So that brings us to the goal of life. So this is what is the knowledge that we get from the Vedic scriptures. Imagine if we did not know this, how would our life be?
His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj, he has written a song. Yadi Prabhupada na hoito, tabe ki hoito, jiva na bahe takishe.
So for a devotee, remembrance of Krishna is life and forgetfulness is death. So therefore, it is always stressed that now that we have got this, fortune of being in association of devotees, able to practice Krishna consciousness, able to understand the conclusion of the Vedas, we must try to share it with others also. And that is what is preaching.
So if one feels gratitude for what he has got, he will feel himself indebted to whatever he has got. He will feel like to giving it to others also. So preaching is an act of compassion. So I again remember Jayapatak Swami Maharaj in one app, he had once sent a message that one night, suddenly his eyes opened. It was 12 o'clock. And that time he was thinking how we can expand this mission of Srila Prabhupada. So thinking, and thinking, he didn't realize when it became morning, and then he got up. So that is how much they feel to do something to please Srila Prabhupada. So many times people say, but I like many people are practicing Krishna consciousness, but we observe that they are not so much contributing to the mission. They don't have so much time. But actually, if we learn from Bhagavad Gita, if you see Arjuna, it's already the background is of a war, and there in between he has got time to understand the knowledge of Gita, right? So from Arjuna we can understand that how much ever busy life we may be living, but it is important to stop and reflect. Whatever we are doing, why are we doing? Arjuna asked this question. I have to fight now, but why should I fight? What am I going to get? I see that my own people are going to die. How can I be happy? So that is what he was trying to reflect. So similarly, we also should stop and reflect whatever we are doing, why are we doing? What is the purpose behind it? Then we can be properly established in Krishna consciousness, and then we can actually value those activities which will really benefit us. So Prabhupada used to say that if we don't preach, then it is like indirectly it is like violence only. Like suppose we know that there is this person who is suffering, and I know how to cure, but I remain silent. How would that be? So that is like a violence. And if you see when Vidura was kicked out from the house, from the kingdom by Duryodhana, by his sharp words, that time even Dhritarashtra was there. So that situation is such that now Dhritarashtra is his generation, Vidura's generation, and Duryodhana his next generation. So for Vidura, the sharp words of Duryodhana was not as much painful as the silence of Dhritarashtra, because Dhritarashtra was his good friend. He could have supported him, but he remained silent. So that is more painful. So similarly, if we also know how to do good for others, but if we remain silent, then it is like a violence. Of course, we have good overview of who am I, who is God, who is controlling this material nature, is there a spiritual world? So we have good amount of knowledge about this, but we should not misuse Vedic knowledge. Like sometimes devotees become very heavy, like I remember I saw once, there was a man walking from far and he had a dog with him. He was walking in the morning walk. So one devotee who observed, he said, oh, just see this man.
and see this dog. Do you find any difference? They both are same. Both are going to go to hell. You know. So that's what he commented. Of course, there is nothing. Maybe there is nothing wrong what he said, but then where was compassion? So it is very easy to misunderstand Prabhupada whenever he uses words like animal, hell, or rascal. So it's very easy to copy the style of Prabhupada instead of mood. But actually, when we read Prabhupada purports, when we learn from his followers, his disciples, or we learn their biographies, what attracted them towards Krishna consciousness, they all mention that it is Prabhupada's love, humility, compassion that attracted them. Actually, these are such heart-melting qualities. So preaching is actually an act of compassion. And we should be prepared how to preach, how to convince people. If we are not able to clear doubts, people may say that, oh, he's just brainwashed. So we must be prepared. So for example, when we were there in book distribution, and we had gone to an area wherein a musical concert was going on, classical music. So there were all very pious people and elderly people. It's classical music. And as people were coming out and we were requesting them to do a deep dan and take a Bhagavad Gita, but surprisingly, all these people were so pious that somehow they couldn't do deep dan or take a Bhagavad Gita. One person, I was telling him, would you like to have a Bhagavad Gita? He said, oh, I already have a Bhagavad Gita. And I said, oh, that is very good. We have other books also, apart from Bhagavad Gita, we have Krishna book and other small books. You can have a look at them. He said, no. Bhagavad Gita has everything. And I said, yeah, that is true. These are topics that are taken from Gita only and elaborately explained. He said, I think you have not understood. Bhagavad Gita has everything. So we sometimes find such people, So how do we answer them? We should be prepared. Maybe I could have told, so do you like that Bhagavad Gita? Would reply, yeah. Then would you like to gift it to someone? Maybe I would have said like that. So we have to be prepared how to preach also. So it is like, we play chess, when we put a move, we are thinking what he will put a move so that I will do something else, So we are prepared always. So like that, while preaching also, we should be prepared. So suppose someone asks you, so can you explain what is this Bhagavad Gita? And he is there in a lift talking to you, a stranger. In 30 seconds, you have to explain what is Bhagavad Gita all about. Based on that, he may get inspired or he may get just put off. So sometimes many devotees get confused whenever whenever it's a question of moon landing. How do we answer them? So we should be prepared. So I remember when we were in bus party, and we had put Prabhupada Kirtan recording, and used to go from places to places. So as the bus was moving, I saw that one person was following us in two-wheeler. And then when the bus stopped to distribute, he also came to us to ask about Bhagavad Gita. So he was saying that, I'm facing this problem of depression, I'm completely unsatisfied with my life. Can Gita help me? So I was trying to explain him, yes, Gita will surely help you. If you see in the first chapter, Arjuna is in a similar situation as you are. Although he is skilled, he has everything, there are so many signs of victory, but still suddenly he gets confused and gets bewildered. He doesn't know why to even fight. But after reading Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am ready to fight. Now I am a soul surrender unto you. So that transformation takes place by the knowledge of Gita. So I explained him this much, and then he was convinced to buy. But then he was telling me that he was actually on the opposite side of the road, going ahead to a wine shop, to drink. But then he heard this kirtan and he thought, maybe let me try. And then it was not a direct U-turn. He had to go front, take a U-turn, come and follow the bus and come to inquire. He was telling me before going that actually I want to reconsider the life I am living. So actually it taught me also a very good lesson. Sometimes people come to spirituality not because of blind faith, but because of intelligent doubt on the life that they are living. Are they really happy? So of course we can say big philosophies, but when difficult situation comes, then our faith gets shaken up. You know, like sometimes we often experience in voices that students are studying and they did not get a job in their final year, or they did not get good marks. Then they suddenly start questioning, why is Krishna doing all this to me? I have been chanting since so many years, but why is Krishna doing this to me? So their faith gets shaken up. you know. So what exactly is this faith? We have to understand, and we have to strengthen. So faith is something very fundamental to the process of bhakti. So if you see, there are 9 stages of devotion. In every stage, it is the same faith only that keeps on building up. So it is, faith is not just the first step, other shraddha. Of course, that is also faith, but everything else is also different degrees of faith. So it is this faith which is very important and which we have to strengthen. Because I know devotees whom I used to stay with. They were preaching. They also taught how to chant. They gave lectures on Bhagavad Gita, mm, proving the existence of God, existence of soul. But then somehow something happened and they left Krishna consciousness. So if you see the faith is very weak, then we are like endangered. So we have to make sure that our faith is very strong while preaching also. So if it is only theoretical and there is no realization, that means our faith is weak, or that Bhakti Lata is very weak. So we have to strengthen faith by practice, or by watering the Bhakti Lata with our sadhana and seva. Then we can preach with conviction. When we have this conviction, by which comes by practice, when we have this conviction and then we preach, then we can actually transform their heart. Otherwise, initially it is just transferring of knowledge. People get information. Okay, this is about. Okay, this is Krishna. Okay, this is spiritual life. So they get just information. But later, when we preach with conviction, that actually transformation of heart. So we have to go from transferring of knowledge to transforming of heart. Just think about it. We have not seen God. We have not been to the spiritual world. So is it not a blind faith? And we have to chant mantra continuously every day for 2 hours. It's just repeating of some words. The word is made up of few alphabets. So is it not blind faith? So people can ask this question. I remember in an interview of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he had told, that there are so many so many arguments that support existence of God, and there are so many arguments that do not support the existence of God. And then he said, but for me, there is no doubt. God exists. So this requires such conviction. It is not just on the intellectual platform, but it is actually realization. They have seen the truth. Therefore they can speak with conviction. When we were in Pune, we were hearing a few classes of, during GBC time, we were hearing classes. In that, Panchagauda Prabhu, temple president of Vrindavan, he was sharing about Prabhupada, that how much Prabhupada has sacrificed for us. He had been through 2 heart attacks in the Jaladuta and 1 heart attack later. He traveled the globe so many times. So many difficulties he took just to show compassion to the world. If this is what it takes to show compassion, then he's ready. So many sacrifices. Somehow, this is something which we already know. There's nothing new in it. We already know, yeah, Prabhupada stories there, we already know. And many times I have read in Vyas Puja offerings also, many devotees mention this. But when I heard from Panchagauda Prabhu, it was so powerful. He must be speaking with realization and strong conviction. So actually, when we hear from such people who practice very strongly, then our faith increases a lot. So therefore, it is always stressed. Person Bhagavatam is very essential. Otherwise, information we can get from YouTube as well. And today we can get from ChatGPT also. So I once asked a devotee, have you realized Krishna? He said, yeah. But then actually, one who has realized Krishna, his life is completely different. His surrender, his determination, all his Vaishnava qualities will manifest. So of course, we all know that Krishna is God. We have got this knowledge, but we need to realize. Once a devotee when the altar opened, he said, "Wow, today the deities are looking so beautiful." So I asked him, "So how, what are you seeing that you are saying it is so beautiful?" So he said, "You see the dress, the color combination, that is looking so attractive." Then I asked him, "Okay, but this dress was not there yesterday. This decoration was not there yesterday. So yesterday were they not so beautiful?" So no, no, yesterday also they were beautiful. Deities are always beautiful. In fact, the the decoration gets its credit only from the deities. Actually, beauty comes from the Lord. So he said, "Okay, that means yesterday also they are beautiful, today also they are beautiful, tomorrow also they are beautiful. So anyway, they will be beautiful every day. So there is nothing special today that they are looking so beautiful, as you said." Now, then he also got confused. Maybe he has faith, but he couldn't answer me. Right. So it actually, so what I'm trying to say is, it actually requires a lot of faith and conviction whenever we say something. Otherwise, we can just mention about something, mention about spiritual life, but actually to touch people's heart, we have to practice it strongly. Then only our act of preaching will be very effective. That means what? We have to live the life of a devotee. Of course, all this we are practicing devotees only. And I remember another instance wherein, so I had a question from long time that Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Jhansi and he was preaching, so he did not get much success. It was actually a failure only. But he did not give up. He went ahead. He thought maybe it is Krishna's will. And he went ahead in some other place preaching again. But if you see, same situation was there in Juhu also. But in Juhu, Prabhupada was very adamant. We want a temple here only. So why like that? The situation seems to be same. How does Prabhupada take decision? So later I got an answer that actually it was the deities who revealed to Srila Prabhupada that there should be a temple here. And so Prabhupada was very adamant. He was very fixed that he wants it. He was very determined. Otherwise, Prabhupada is like, okay, if he met with a failure, then fine. Maybe it's Krishna's plan. There may be some other place where it is better to preach. That he can go ahead. So that's how they are. So therefore, you see, Prabhupada could do so much. See the life that Prabhupada was living. He opened so 108 temples, so many centers. He, 14 times he went on all around the globe, all the continents. He practically shook the American government. Who knew that a small man from the land of India, from Bengal, would grow up to become such a spiritual leader? So basically the conclusion is, one who practices can very effectively preach. There's a shloka also. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tad evetaro janaha sa yad pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. I remember in the outside world, this is very common thing. How do we do weight loss? So if you imagine that a person who himself is 120 kg and he is giving tips on weight loss, so how many people will be inspired to follow? Right? Even though he may give first class techniques, but who would be inspired to follow? So it's that way. Or imagine if there is a recession, and all the commodities are not as available as they were before. So suppose the grains are only 80% available as compared to in the general time. And then the government announces, the leaders announce that they request that everyone to use only 80% of grains and reduce their food consumption. So now they may say like that, but if they themselves live in luxury, then how will there be cooperation in the country? So that way. So one who practices, and when he preaches, then only there is effectiveness. Otherwise, so therefore it is said to follow is not as easy as one may feel. So we were going to different schools to distribute Bhagavad Gita, to inspire them to take up this value education contest based on Bhagavad Gita. So we were telling them, the importance of it. Like we asked, suppose you are there in the classroom and there is exam going on, and somehow the invigilator has gone out, and you know that the topper is just sitting in front bench. So will you copy? Some student actually told the truth. Yes, but is it the right thing to do? Everyone said no. So it is something which they already know what to do, what not to do. But if they are not able to follow, then it's a question mark, right? How much they can do. So I remember when we were in Pune, so we all devotees were undergoing a training, and once Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu had come to give classes in Pune. So the devotee was saying, I was inviting a devotee, come, let's go to attend that evening class. It was Sunday evening. So that devotee was saying, yeah, I want to come, but then, my sadhana is pending for this week. Still I have to read for a few hours to complete my quota of reading Prabhupada books. So I may not be able to come. And I was surprised. He actually did not come. And what was he reading? He was reading the importance of association of devotees who are just walking on the planet to spread the mercy of the Lord. How much it is important. A moment of association of these devotees can actually change our life. He was reading that, reading, and reading. And then finally, he got a good score in the sadhana. And that is the end. So if you see, we should actually follow, whatever we are studying, whatever we are hearing. That is very important. So Prabhupada used to say in lectures that books are not just for selling, it is for devotees also to read them. So, and if we read Prabhupada books, we'll find that after every few verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada always mentions about chanting Hare Krishna. That this is the process for the age of Kali Yuga. Wherever if there is any yagya mentioned, Ashwamedh yagya, this yagya, so Prabhupada immediately connects that for this stage we have to chant Hare Krishna. Or anything, any other country says, Prabhupada somehow concludes that we have to chant Hare Krishna. So Dhruva Maharaj did so many austerities, and for us, the austerity is to actually chant Hare Krishna, follow for regulative principles. So everywhere we see Prabhupada is stressing on Harinam, Sankirtan, and chanting of Hare Krishna. So of course we read it, but when we get a live example of it, then our conviction also increases. I remember Indra Prabhu says in one of his biography that the heart of what Srila Prabhupada wants is he wants us to distribute books, book distribution. That pleases Srila Prabhupada. But then the heart of book distribution is that we actually take up spirituality seriously. We take up to Harinam Sankirtan. So therefore, it is best when book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan go on parallelly on the road. So it's important to showcase and set a right example, not just speak, but actually set a right example wherein people can learn. So when we say something, we should really mean it. For example, when we see the news channel so they begin by saying good evening, but then they go on to say why the evening is not so good, because so many things are happening in this world. But when we say something, it should not be like that. When we say something, we should really mean it. So Bhagavad Gita is like that. Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. When devotees preach, it is that way. So preaching is not just formal speaking. Actually, everyone is preaching. So some are speaking and some are not, but everyone is preaching. So you may be having so many things to do, but still you chose to attend Bhagavatam class. Or today there is Govardhan Puja. Still you will choose to come to temple and render services. Or in other times, you may plan to go out to distribute Srila Prabhupada books. So by this, you are actually preaching to people that how much you value this, how much this is actually valuable for us. So there are many things that can keep one busy, but still if you are ready to make out time, that means one really values it. So this is what I was trying to say, that we have got the knowledge of Vedas. Okay, just by getting knowledge is not sufficient. We should be prepared how to preach also, so that it convinces people and they will be inspired to practice spirituality. Okay? And not just speak about about spirituality, about goal of life, but actually we must also practice it. Then it becomes more effective. It's not that we cannot preach unless we have realized. How much ever we have realized, that much we can preach. Like at least we are convinced that we have to do something, otherwise everyone will just die. We have to practice spirituality. There is some higher aim of life. So that much we can inspire people to take up to bhakti, to try it out, to try chanting Hare Krishna. You will feel bliss. So now what is this devotional service that we actually are preaching? So in NOD we understand. mm, so this is the last part, last topic that I'm going to explain now about devotional service. So it says Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Anavitam Anukulyena Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktiruttama. So it says that devotional service is something wherein we are selflessly trying to serve Krishna. We have no motivation. You know, many times when there is a project that comes or we have to do some work, a question is asked, what's in it for me? But bhakti is not like that. We are selflessly trying to serve Krishna. We have no desire. You know, we are not fruitive in terms of getting something or getting some or trying to speculate something. No, we are just trying to serve Krishna. That is devotional service. No expectation. So I remember, you know, this is before I came to Krishna consciousness. So when I was in a railway platform waiting for train, so there was a beggar that came, to beg. So I thought, so actually I was feeling hungry, but I gave that food to the beggar. You So I and seeing that how much the beggar was satisfied by eating, that gave me more satisfaction. Like for example, if I would have taken the food, I would have felt satisfied because I was hungry. But because I tried to serve someone else and they became happy, I felt more satisfaction. I'm sure everyone would have experienced this. That's how people are able to do also social service. And many people are trying to be selfless also in some way. So actually, similarly, when we try to serve the Supreme Lord selflessly, then we experience supreme satisfaction.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo jato bhaktiradhokshade yato ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati.
So Jayatma Suprasidati means what? We experience a great amount of satisfaction when we render service to God. But how is that service? Ahaituki apratihata, without motivation and without an interruption. So this is what actually devotional service is going to give us. So when we actually know this and when we have experienced this happiness, then when we go to preach, it will definitely attract people. They will really consider whatever we are saying.
So there was a person, I heard this in a class, that there was a person who owns a showroom wherein they sell they sell watches there. So he was saying that these watches are very costly nowadays. Even 50,000 we can buy one watch. So he was saying that the amount of satisfaction he gets by selling one Bhagavad Gita is more than when compared to selling a watch which is worth 50,000. That was his realization. It is eye opening. So that is a satisfaction by giving Bhagavad Gita to others, giving this knowledge of Gita. We understand from the scriptures also, this devotional service is so powerful that we have no other desires if we actually experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was so much determined to achieve a kingdom greater than his great grandfather Lord Brahma. Who would have such a desire? Nobody can even dream of it. He had this desire and he was very adamant, very determined. He wanted it. But in doing so, when he saw the darshan of Lord, and it was the end. He was feeling so satisfied that he didn't want anything else. So this is what one experiences when one practices bhakti. Even Prahlad Maharaj, when Lord Narasimhadev asked him, please ask for any benediction, Prahlad said, oh, I don't want anything. When again Lord asked, he said, you may just deliver my father. Basically, devotees have nothing to ask for. They are so satisfied just by serving Lord. Therefore, the gopis are the highest of all devotees. When Narad Muni asked this question about gopis, so then he wanted to test. Lord told you can test, and he said to the gopis that your Lord Krishna has got a headache, and that headache can only be cured when he gets dust from your feet, and it is applied to Lord. Then only that headache will go away. So gopis, without even thinking for a second moment, immediately they went into the mud and just jumped, and lot of dust came, and
They told Narad Muni, take all of it. Narad Muni was shocked. You know that this is an aparad? Gopi said, and this is an aparad, and you will go to hell forever. Not just once and come back, you will go to hell forever. So Gopi said, we are ready to go to hell forever if for a moment we can give satisfaction to Krishna. So this is actually how a devotee thinks. So what is this bhakti that gives such a sense of satisfaction? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayatatmanah. So here in this verse, the word bhakti is mentioned twice. When I read first, I thought maybe it is redundant. Why it is mentioned twice? But actually, it is trying to say that it is very important. Because this bhakti is what Krishna is looking for. Krishna is God. He is the greatest of all. Everything is under his control. Not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of Lord. What does he want? He doesn't want anything. But he is satisfied when we serve him with love and devotion, with this bhakti. So if you see, the word bhakti literally means devotion, or as Prabhupada says, devotional service. And this devotion is a function of consciousness. It is not just an activity. It is actually a function of consciousness. So if you see the other processes wherein they chant mantras and doing yajna, or even if there is karma yoga, so many things, lot of rituals are involved. Or importance is given to the activity. Suppose you pronounce a mantra wrongly, then the result will be wrong. So that's how other processes are. But bhakti is not like that. Krishna sees our intent. You, we know that even though he was fed with banana peels, but he still accepted because he saw that love, the devotion. So bhakti is that. So since bhakti is not on a physical platform or even mental platform, it is actually on the platform of consciousness. It is already on the spiritual platform. That's how we can understand that bhakti yoga must be the topmost. So we can actually think when we do any service, suppose we are cleaning the temple of Lord. So is it physical or is it spiritual? Whenever we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, is it intellectual or is it spiritual? So it all depends on the purpose. So it is not limited to the activity, but Krishna sees the purpose behind whatever service we are rendering. He only sees the love and devotion. And actually, a devotee is one who is ready to die for Krishna. As I said before, no, remembrance of Krishna is life, and forgetfulness is death. So there was one instance, I think American War of Independence, wherein there was a soldier to whom the one above him, the commander, he said him that I regret that I will have to leave you here and go, because the situation was such. You know what the soldier replied? He replied, I regret that I have only one life to sacrifice for. So they had such a consciousness, So we can see that even those who are dying in the war or those who are fighting for the country, they are also having very high spirit. How much higher spirit a devotee should have actually, because he has got the highest rank. So of course they may die once in a war or in a battlefield, but if you see Srila Prabhupada, every moment he was actually sacrificing so much. Devotee means he dies every moment. He cannot just remain in peace if he is not trying to do something for Srila Prabhupada, for Krishna. So this is the difference. So there it was sacrifice of life, but here Srila Prabhupada entire life he was living with the entire life. So many times the devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you have become so old. You're already more than 80 and traveling all around the world. Why don't you just sit at one place and do the service? Prabhupada said, I am a warrior, in the army of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me die in the battlefield. So this is how they think. Even when Jesus Christ was crucified, what did he say? He said that if this is what it takes to show compassion to all people, then I'm ready for it. So such are the devotees. So I'll end with one last, very inspirational story. So the stories of Bhakti Raghav Swami Maharaj. We were fortunate to directly hear from him. So Bhakti Raghav Swami Maharaj, uh, so of course before he was now he's a sannyasi. Before he was a brahmachari in Mayapur, and that time uh, some dacoits had attacked, trying to loot the deities or do something that way. So when they had come, it was all such a mess. He was seeing that I think someone is trying to wave hand and trying to say something, but later Maharaj said that later he found out actually he was trying to throw a grenade on him. That was the situation. And there were guns, rifles, people were shooting. And unfortunately, of course, Maharaj could have run away, but he had to protect deities. How can he leave the deities? But his leg was shot. Just imagine. And it was shot in such a way that it actually got cut away. So he was there unconscious or a little bit conscious, and when he was trying to touch below, couldn't he couldn't feel anything. There was nothing. The leg was already cut off. And at that time, he understood, now I must take shelter of Krishna. And he started chanting Hare Krishna. Later, he was taken to hospital and maybe he was operated. And then when he woke up from the hospital later, then he felt, oh, it was such a nightmare dream. Good that I am safe. But actually, when he tried to touch below, there was no leg. So actually, it was not just a dream, but it was reality. But he was sharing his experience that at that moment, when he realized that his leg was cut, and somehow he remembered that now he has to just chant Hare Krishna. So that time he felt that, everything will be taken care. I just have to surrender. Everything will be taken care. And whatever I'm doing is the right thing. He realized that in that moment. So actually, he chose to surrender to Krishna. Therefore, Krishna reciprocated. So this is how devotees live. They are ready to do anything for the sake of Lord, give pleasure to the Lord. So I'll just summarize what all we discussed. So we discussed initially what is the purpose of Vedas. So the verse talks about different gradations. One who knows the purpose, one who can clear the doubt, but one who can actually follow all the principles, and highest pure devotee who has no expectation in return. So it talks about different levels. So we just discuss these different levels. So what is the purpose of Vedas? They actually teach us how to be happy, and that is by connecting to Krishna. And then we also talk about the act of preaching. It's not that when we get to know this, we just keep it to ourselves, but out of gratitude, we want to give it to others. That is the act of preaching. And when will our preaching be effective? When we actually practice it strictly in our life. So that is like living the life of a devotee. And then what is this devotional service? So we understood that when one performs without an expectation and just for giving pleasure to the Lord. So that is this devotional service. Hare Krishna. So if anyone has any question, they may ask, or any comments, or we can end the class. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna.